Right, evening everybody. It is Tuesday, 3rd of January 2017, and nobody famous appears to have died just yet, so maybe this year is going to be a little bit more positive. Continuing our world tour, basically clearing off all the world whiskies that I've got remaining until I hit Islay for the finish. I've got 3 Indians to do. Now, I've done one Indian before, which was the bagpiper, and I managed to acquire a few more through the rest of the year, so I'm going to do all 3 of them tonight, just to try and get them done more than anything else. So the first one I'm going to do is this one, and the first 2 I've got are actually miniatures from India that came from the always excellent Andrew A.P. Butler, who has had half of each of the miniature and then sent them on to me. So the first one I've got is this one, which is called Royal Challenge, and this is the bagpiper. It's actually from the same owners, but Royal Challenge was originally launched in the early 1980s from a company called Wallace. Now, Wallace were actually set up in 1886, and it was 2 Englishmen. It was Robert Gordon Shaw and Charles William Wallace in a place called Kolkata in West Bengal. And they started off as sort of a producer of Indian spirits, but grew and grew and grew to the size where it was like multi-businesses, different subsidiaries doing all sorts of crazy stuff. There was like chemicals and production and loads of stuff. At one point, they were even the sole distributor for the Sega Mega Drive in India. So they ended up, they were a successful company, but they ended up getting taken over by the UB Group, or United Breweries, in 2005, and became part of the subsidiary of UB, which is United Spirits. Now, United Spirits themselves ended up being owned by Diageo. Diageo have a controlling stake in, I think, United Spirits rather than United Breweries. It's one of these where it's like companies with subsidiaries with owners, but still parent companies, and it's all really complicated business baloney. So in essence, you can say this is owned by Diageo, and that was in 2008 that it became part of United Spirits. So this is a fairly big brand in India. Now, this is one where they might say it's whiskey, but it's not. It's a combination of Scotch whiskey and Indian malt whiskey, and as a lot of Indian whiskies are, almost like 99% of whiskies is molasses based. So it's more akin to a rum than it is to a whiskey. It's basically, the official line it's a grain-based whiskey blended with Scotch and Indian malts. However, according to an article in the Wall Street Journal, 12% of the whiskey, or 12% of the liquid that's in the bottle, is a combination of actual Scotch whiskey and Indian whiskey made from grain, and then the rest of it is this molasses-based, it's like a neutral spirit, basically. So it is actually sold in America. So if any of my American viewers are watching, if you've come across Royal Challenge and the bottle looks like this, they have just changed the packaging. I don't actually know how much it is. I couldn't find any prices. It's not for sale in America, in the UK. In America, it's known as a spirit whiskey, and even then, using the terminology of whiskey is a little bit loose. Now, they have just changed the packaging, and I'm going to have to read you some of this because it just cracks me up. This is from the United Spirits website, and it's just it's this corporate marketing bullshit that just drives me nuts. So Royal Challenge, one of the largest selling premium whiskey brands in India. Apart from the deep and intensely smooth blend of Scotch and premium Indian grains in Royal Challenge whiskey, American charred oak casks are used for aging. So it doesn't say anything about molasses-based neutral spirit, because why would they? The brand has recently refreshed its image by contemporizing the Royal Challenge emblem of the lion and roundel and embedded the new packaging with markers of aspiration, and hence the new black and red clutter-breaking look. What is even a clutter-breaking look? Is more distinctive, premium, masculine and bold. Okay. Royal Challenge has also realigned its brand positioning with a shift in the thinking of India's new generation, which has replaced why with why not, embracing dynamism instead of predictability. It's the spirit of a time when boldness is its own reward. Right from the blend and packaging to the man it appeals to. Really? Royal Challenge is a celebration of the brave and the unconventional. Today, Royal Challenge's brand purpose is to inspire the spirit of taking on life, and it imbibes the motto of live bold. The refreshed Royal Challenge has found a strong acceptance among the customers, and the brand is witnessing a robust growth trajectory across the country. It's just nonsense in it. It's just marketing crap. Hate that type of language. It really winds me up. Just speak properly, all right? It's just nonsense, absolute nonsense. Really, not that it winds me up or anything like that. So, Royal Challenge, it is, and there's quite a bit of detail on the back of this label. So we're looking at, now, from what I can gather, the recommended retail price or manufacturer's retail price is 61.03 rupees, I think, and it is 42.8% ABV, which is odd. And interestingly, it's a 60ml miniature, not a 50ml, which is unusual. But yeah, there's a lot of, and apparently it's for sale in Karnataka only, which I think is Bangalore. In fact, I know it's Bangalore because I've just seen where I've written it down, pretending like I knew where Karnataka was. I haven't got a clue. So yes, these three Indian whiskies are going to be pretty thin on the ground in terms of information because there's not that much in there. They're very, very big in India. Very big in India. I've done Bagpiper, and Bagpiper is one of my most popular videos out of all the ones that I've done. What are we on? 345 or whatever I'm at the moment. Bagpiper is one of the most popular, I think, because I've got a lot of people from Asia that have been watching it and checking it out because they know that brand. Indian whiskey is big in India and big in Asia, but because of the way that they make it and the way that they market it or can't market it, it's really hard for them to get anywhere outside of that region. So, colour, quite light, no age statement, probably not very old because of the climate in India. Obviously, India is very, very hot. If there is any maturation in casks, they're going to be losing a lot through evaporation. So 2, 3, 5 years max, I'm betting, any of the kind of spirit that they've got. So in terms of colouring on that, it's like what sort of colour is that? It's quite yellowy. It's not the official website describes it as amber. I wouldn't call that amber. That's not golden enough to be amber. It's too yellow to be amber. It's not orangey enough for amber because there is a kind of gold, but it's a very pale gold. I wouldn't be surprised if colouring's been added to it as well to maintain some kind of consistency. So Bagpiper was okay. Bagpiper is also from United Spirits. It's on the website, as is the next one I'm going to do. Bagpiper wasn't awful, wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. So I'm hoping this is at least tolerable. It's really spirity on the nose, and it doesn't really taste. It doesn't really nose of whiskey. It noses of another spirit. There's elements of vodka in there. There's the cleanness of vodka, but there's also a touch of gin. It's like there's a slight botanical element to it. There isn't anything to say it's malty. There's any malt character to it. It really is quite a pure, clean alcohol spirit, but it's not even clean in a refreshing way. It's like I say, it's got this sharpness of vodka, of a kind of very powerful vodka, and the slight sourness of gin, and a little bit of, like rubbing alcohol, that sort of thing, and really not a lot else. Nothing. A little bit of wood, but there is not a lot on that whatsoever. There really is nothing. There's not even the intensity that there is on the nose hitting the back of your throat. Now, what I have found, reading some of the comments from Bagpiper and doing a bit more looking into Indian whiskey, is the vast majority of it is to be mixed. Very, very little of it is to be made to be drunk neat. Hardly any of it, if any, at all. A lot of reviews that I've read, even for these ones when I've been doing the sort of research, it's comments from people in India drinking it going, it's really good with Sprite, it's really good with Coke, I love to mix this one, this is a really good mixer, this doesn't mix particularly well. All the comments are not about it drinking neat, it's about mixing, and I think that is purely it. It's a bit like Canadian whiskey. That's what I tend to find with Canadian whiskey, was with one or two very good exceptions. The cheaper end of Canadian whiskey in particular is made to be mixed, and it seems to be the case with not even the cheaper end with India. The vast majority of it, be it cheap to super premium, is made to be mixed, not drunk neat. Now, this is arguably a premium Indian whiskey, and it would be fine to be mixed with. It's got just about enough of a alcohol kick, and there's a very slight, but it's quite a sweet flavour. It's not cloying, it's not obvious that it's molasses, but it's not obvious it's whiskey. It's almost just a generic, slightly malty spirit. It's like something pretending to be whiskey that's spirity, but hasn't really got the depth and any character and any flavour. It's got a slight woodiness to it though, that's the thing. That's the only thing that gives it the impression of being whiskey, is you do get a characteristic of it has been in a cask. Not what it's made of, not that it's been distilled using malted barley or even molasses. It's not even got a hint of rum or anything like that. It's a very plain neutral spirit that has been put into a cask and has picked up some wood flavour. But you can't even say it's been in a sherry cask or a bourbon cask or anything like that. It feels like it's been a plain charred cask that's picked up some slight burnt wood characteristics onto a relatively plain spirit. Now, it doesn't nose like it's had colouring added to it, so I'm assuming that the colouring is from the cask. So I think it's possibly even a cask that's not even had anything in before. They've charred it, they've set fire to the inside of it, they've put this relatively neutral spirit in. You know, supposedly 12% of this is some Scotch and some Indian malt whiskey, and then this neutral spirit made from molasses. And I think it's ended up in a relatively neutral spirit that has been distilled and is then put into a new cask that has picked up some oaky character, but hasn't been in long enough to pick up a lot of it, and there's nothing else that's been in that cask to give you any sort of depth. There's nothing to this apart from, you know, it's a 40, what is it, 46 was it? Wouldn't have been, 42.8%, call it 43%. You know there's 43% alcohol in it, and you know it's been in a cask. That's it. There's nothing else. There really is nothing else. But you put that with Coke, you're going to get a kick in your Coke. You're going to get a kick in your Sprite or your soda or whatever you put it in, and it might give you the impression that you have been drinking whiskey. But on its own, not great. It's not awful, but there's nothing to it to really say that's bad or that's good. There is just nothing, really. Bit of wood, bit of spirit, that's about it. But you can't really even call this whiskey. Just trying it blind, you would go, I don't even know if that's whiskey. I'm not really sure what that is. I don't know if it's some kind of like weird kind of, like some weird off-the-wall French spirit or Eastern European spirit or something like that. You certainly wouldn't pick it as whiskey, let alone Indian whiskey. Right, so I'm rambling. We'll do a quick rinse out, and we shall crack on with our next Indian, which possibly might not be too dissimilar, but is super premium rather than premium. So I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.